Bolivia's justice system opened a trial against Jeanine Añez and 9 other defendants for the 2019 coup. Representatives of Russia and the North Atlantic Treaty Organization met in Brussels on Wednesday for high-stakes talks aimed at diffusing growing tensions over Moscow's military presence near the Ukraine border. At least 8 people have been killed in a car explosion in the Somali capital, Mogadishu. From the headquarters of Telesur English in Havana, Cuba, this is From the South. I'm your anchor, Gladys Quesada, and these are the news. As part of the ongoing judicial proceedings against Bolivia's former de facto president, the justice system this Wednesday opened the trial against Jeanine Añez and the 9 other defendants for the 2019 coup. According to the Deputy Minister of Justice, Jaime Siles, a judgment will be issued, and according to the criminal procedure, in 45 days the public and contradictory oral trial will begin. The judicial body stated that the first sentence against the former de facto president for the 2019 coup will be known in March or April. Añez is accused of sedition, terrorism, and conspiracy. And Bolivia vindicated the benefits of the coca leaf on the National Day of the Acuyico, while highlighting the importance of the millenary product that accompanies the culture of the country's native peoples. During the act of the National Day of Acuyico, Bolivia's President Luis Arce Catacora praised the National Day of the Acuyico as the way to vindicate the attributes of and benefits of the coca leaf, and assured his government will continue to support indigenous traditions. Arce also emphasized that the government plans its industrialization, a task that is already being addressed in coordination with the Ministry of Productive Development. At the same time, Arce regretted that many tried to discredit the coca leaf with arguments of hatred and rejection to the cultures that integrate the country.
Many have tried to discredit the coca leaf, even with arguments of hatred and rejection to the cultures that make up our country, disregarding the plurality, disregarding the complementarity that identifies us. The Huifala was disowned and humiliated, as well as the Acuyico, exposing a great resentment, disowning a great part of our Bolivian population that is accustomed to the Aculico.
In Ecuador, new prison riots and clashes left 3 inmates dead. This Tuesday, Ecuador's National Service of Integral Attention to Individuals Deprived of Liberty reported that 3 inmates died in the prison of the coastal city of Esmeraldas. Their deaths come after a new incident in the prison system, which suffered frequent clashes between gangs during 2021. The institution indicated that the confrontations were controlled and that the prosecutor's office is coordinating actions to establish the material and intellectual authors of this case. The event is in addition to others that occurred in the last months and caused the violent deaths of more than 300 inmates. In Mexico, the president of the Indigenous Council of the municipality of Sosocotla in the state of Morelos was assassinated. The state prosecutor's office reported that Benjamin Lopez Palacios was shot to death while at his home. The incident came just 12 days after Palacios took office as the mayor in the newly created indigenous municipality after winning an extraordinary election. Witnesses told authorities that some 7 people entered the official's house and shot him and then fled in a vehicle. According to data from the consulting firm Etaglert, with the murder of Lopez Palacio, there are 84 mayors murdered since 2006. In Guatemala, security forces reinforced patrols at borders and blind spots in the event of a possible massive movement of people from Honduras. The Guatemalan police reinforced border patrols to protect the entrance points to the country. According to the Migration Institute, the protocol establishes the installation of checkpoints on many routes to verify that foreigners comply with the biosecurity measures for entering the national territory. Will immigration authorities require a PCR test or negative antigen test at least 72 hours prior to the arrival, as well as vaccination cards with a complete vaccination schedule. In Guatemala, the Mayan Chortí people are fighting for the vindication of their cultural identity and the defense of their territory. This time, they held an assembly to elect the indigenous authorities following their ancestral tradition.
The Maya Chortí people of San Francisco, municipality of Quetzaltepeque, Chiquimula, elect their new board of directors and ratify the indigenous authorities for the period 2022, under the ancestral methodology of a show of hands.
This exercise is supported by the political constitution as well as by international laws. It is an exercise that does not conflict with any law. It is an exercise that has been carried out for years, which we value.
The Maya Chortí people of Quetzaltepeque are in a struggle to reclaim their cultural identity because the state of Guatemala has denied their existence, according to indigenous authorities.
And therefore, today we let the world know that Quetzaltepeque is an indigenous community. We are ancestral native people, and we are defending our territory and we are defending our Mother Earth.
This community organization stopped the advance of mining companies that dispute the Maya Chortí territory and the Department of Chiquimula, according to the Tayuran and El Gigante community coordinator.
We have done a very intense work of sensitization and organization with all the communities, and up to date there are 23 communities with indigenous councils.
For this reason, several indigenous authorities have suffered state persecution, with arrest warrants still in force, according to their own statements.
On September 30th, we had 5 of our people arrested who are defenders of their territory. I know that for defending a territory there is no law that can imprison them or anyone who can issue arrest warrants for them.
The Chortí Maya people of San Francisco occupy a territory of more than 8,500 hectares, made up of 23 districts, while the board of directors of the Chortí Maya people will be at the service of the 23 districts that make up the municipality of Quetzaltepeque department of Chiquimula.
Santiago Botón, Telesur Oriente de Guatemala.
Thank you, Santiago, for this interesting report, and now we'll be right back after this very short break, so don't go away. Welcome back to From the South. The Russia and North Atlantic Treaty Organization Council ended a meeting in Brussels that lasted for 4 hours. The Council meeting marked the second stage in a series of talks between Russia and the West on the country's proposals for European security. The first stage was the talks between Moscow and the United States that took place in Geneva on January 10th, and the third stage will happen as an Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe meeting in Vienna on January 13th. The Russian delegation was led by Deputy Foreign Minister Alexander Grushko and Deputy Defense Minister Alexander Fomin, while NATO was represented by its Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg, Deputy Secretary of State Wendy Sherman, and representatives of 30 NATO member states in Brussels. NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg described the meeting of Russia and NATO Council as a positive sign despite significant differences over the situation in Ukraine and security in Europe.
At the same time, both Russia and NATO allies expressed the need to resume dialogue and to explore a schedule of future meetings. NATO allies are ready to meet again with Russia to have discussions in greater detail, to put concrete proposals on the table and to seek constructive outcomes.
A meeting confirmed in Russia between Turkish authorities and an Armenian emissary on Friday. The news was confirmed by the Turkish Ministry of Foreign Affairs, which also announced that the representative for Turkey will be Sidar Kilik, the former Turkish ambassador to the United States. Kilik will meet on the Vice President of the National Assembly of Armenia, Ruben Rubinyan. They also announced the resumption of direct flights between the capitals of Ankara and Yerevan, while Armenia ended the embargo on Turkish products that had been in place for a year. Although Armenia and Turkey have never maintained formal diplomatic relations, tensions between the two nations rose in 2020, with Turkey's support to Azerbaijan in the Nagorno-Karabakh war. The new government of Kazakhstan took office after being sworn in on Wednesday. The first meeting of the new government was presided over by the country's new Prime Minister Alikham Ismailov, who was nominated by Kazakh's President Kassym-Jomart Tokayev one day ago. At the meeting, Ismailov stressed that the primary tasks for the current government are to fulfill the instructions of President Tokayev, improve the quality of people's life, sustain the economic growth momentum, combat the COVID-19 pandemic, repair the damage caused by the recent riots, and pull the country out of a massive crisis. Violent protests sparked by fuel price hikes rocked Kazakhstan for several days recently, leading to multiple deaths and many injuries. United States President Joe Biden said he backs an effort to change Senate rules in order to pass voting rights legislation, declaring that the move will be aimed at protecting the country's democracy. In a speech in Atlanta, Georgia, the head of state said he had been having conversations with the U.S. senators for months over the two bills up for debate, which have stalled because they do not have enough Republican votes to move them past the filibuster. Current rules require 60 votes to advance most legislation, a threshold that Senate Democrats cannot meet alone because they only have a 50-50 majority, with Vice President Kamala Harris to break ties. If senators agree to remove it, just a simple majority of votes will be needed to pass two pieces of voting rights legislation that have been a top priority for National Democrats.
As an institutionalist, I believe that the threat to our democracy is so grave that we must find a way to pass these voting rights bills. Debate them, vote, let the majority prevail. And if that bare minimum is blocked, we have no option but to change the Senate rules, including getting rid of the filibuster for this.
On Wednesday, at least 8 people have been killed in a car explosion in the Somali capital, Mogadishu. A car bomb targeted a convoy, including bulletproof cars using Avizione Street, according to the head of the city's ambulance service, Abdulkadir Abdirrahman. The attack was claimed by Al-Shabaab, an Al-Qaeda-linked army group fighting to overthrow the country's UN-backed government. As it said in a brief statement, it was targeting foreign officers.
I came here running after the blast. Then I saw a burning vehicle. It's there now. I helped to get 3 dead bodies out of it. In total, I saw 8 dead bodies and 3 injuries. While we were busy helping the first person, we saw a second man burning. I saw a dead body here and another one there. One is there and another one is on that side, including a soldier.
Now we move on to other topics. Western powers, together with African countries in the UN Security Council, backed the sanctions imposed on Mali by the Economic Community of West African States for alleged non-compliance with the electoral timetable. France, the United Kingdom, and the United States, among others, defended the pressure agreed this weekend by the CEDEAO and stressed that the military junta ruling Mali must fulfill its commitments and organize elections in February that will give a way to civilian administration. While Russia supports the position of the authorities in Bamako, the Russian ambassador Vasily Nebenzia questioned whether the elections could be held at a time when many parts of the country are outside government control. The military junta, which took power after 2 coups in August 2020 and May 2021, has proposed postponing the elections and extending the transition by up to 5 years. And hundreds of travelers are left stranded in Mali's capital as surrounding nations close their borders. Relations between Mali and its neighbors have steadily deteriorated since Colonel Assimi Goïta took power in a military coup in August 2020. The sanctions are already affecting travelers in Mali, a vast landlocked nation of 19 million people that borders 7 other states. The country's location makes it a key transport hub for the region, with Bamako a key stop along the round route linking countries such as Senegal to states further east, such as Nigeria. North Korea's Supreme Leader Kim Jong-un, along with his sister Kim Jong-un and the senior officials attending the launch of a hypersonic missile into the waters of the Sea of Japan, known in Korea as the Eastern Sea, on Tuesday. This is the first public appearance of the North Korean leader after almost 2 years without being seen in this kind of events. According to local media reports, Kim Jong-un was satisfied with the launch and confirmed that it was carried out to test the technical specifications of these new weapon systems. The launch of the nation's second supersonic missile took place hours after the UN Security Council condemned the test of the first missile launched on January 5th. And we have more stories coming up after this final short break, so stay with us. Welcome back. India's Ministry of Health stated Wednesday that the country is experiencing a high surge in COVID-19 cases. The country reported 185,000 new COVID-19 cases on Tuesday, and the 7-day average of cases has jumped from around 14,000 on January 1st to more than 130,000 on January 10th. According to the Ministry of Health, the surge is being driven by a rapid increase in positive cases and daily infections in states like Maharashtra, West Bengal, Delhi, Uttar Pradesh, and Tamil Nadu, spanning the north, south, east, and west of the country. To date, just over 46% of the population are now fully vaccinated, according to Johns Hopkins University data. The country has also started vaccinating children aged 15 and over and is administering a third vaccine dose for frontline workers and people aged over 60. Indonesia launches COVID-19 booster campaign to stem Omicron spread. Indonesia opened its coronavirus booster campaign to the public on Wednesday as the country records rising infections by the Omicron variant. Free shots will be given to the elderly and at-risk residents as a priority, but will be available to everyone who received their second dose. Indonesia, with more than 270 million people, has struggled to procure enough vaccine for its residents since the onset of the pandemic. Elderly Indonesians lined up at vaccination centers in Jakarta on Wednesday for their boosters in hope for better protection against the highly contagious Omicron variant. Indonesia uses Pfizer, Moderna, AstraZeneca, and China's Sinovac for COVID-19 inoculations. It had reported more than 4.2 million confirmed COVID-19 cases and more than 144,000 deaths as of Wednesday.
I have to get this third shot because I have a lot of activities. I am still playing tennis, I am still running, and I am still active in some organizations. And if I don't have immunity, then I could infect people or I could become sick myself. So this is for the sake of my immunity. Basically, everyone will get booster jabs, but it has to be done gradually. However, as we know, the elders were also the group to receive the first jabs. Antibodies can weaken over time. So the elderly may also have the least antibodies now, because they were the first to get the first and second jabs.
Russian officials sounded the alarm about a looming surge of coronavirus infections due to the highly contagious Omicron variant, but stopped short of announcing new restrictions. The warning on Tuesday comes just weeks after new infections and deaths in Russia began to decline, following another record-breaking surge. Pessimistic estimates suggest that Russia might face six-figure numbers of new daily infections, according to the head of the Public Health Agency. Experts already see indications that the situation with the virus is worsening, with infection rates in 35 out of more than 80 Russian regions higher than the country's average.
What we see today create pessimistic estimates that the growing number of diagnosed coronavirus cases might face six-figure numbers in Russia.
In Moscow, unfortunately, we see significant numbers of people infected with the Omicron variant, and its percentage is rapidly growing. Within 7 to 10 days, I believe we will be seeing a significant surge in infections. It's possible that we might face even more critical situation than we faced during previous surges of infection.
Peruvians are rushing to be tested as unvaccinated as the country sees a spike in COVID-19 cases. Last week, the government reported that nearly 100,000 children had lost a parent or a primary caregiver to COVID-19 in Peru, the country with the world's highest coronavirus death rate. The government currently provides the benefit of $50 every 2 months to more than 18,000 families who lost their parents or caregivers, but the health minister has noted that many other families lack the necessary documentation to receive the benefit, as their loved ones died at home in the first and the second wave, and they do not have death certificates stating that the cause was COVID-19.
I have come here in the hope that I will get tested, but unfortunately there is quite a long queue. I'm not sure they are going to test me because there are too many people queuing.
I came to get the booster jab because I'm scared of the spike in cases in the country, and I think everyone has to be responsible and protect themselves and their family.
It seems to me that there is a lot of carelessness on the part of the people. It is also because of the crowded living conditions in the houses, so that's where the cases come from. And in the markets, everywhere, right?
Now we address the topics. Landslides and flooding caused by torrential rains have killed at least 10 people in southeastern Brazil. According to the Civil Defense of the South American country, the heavy rains registered in the last 24 hours in the region left towns partially submerged and hundreds displaced. The downpours increased since last weekend and left several cities cut off by floods that have blocked roads and knocked down several bridges, in addition to leaving a dam at the risk of collapse. In the framework of this storm, a serious accident took place in the Furnas Lake, when the detachment of a huge rocky wall from a canyon fell on 4 boats, leaving 10 people dead and 30 injured.
Everyone is scared. In just 1 hour, the water rises. It's very fast. There is no time to get almost anything out. I was at the 1997 flood, then the 2019 flood, and now the 2022 flood. And the trend every year was always one worse than the other. And I think that from now on, the trend is this, one worse than the other too.
And we have come to the end of this news brief. But remember, you can find this and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. And also, if you feel so inclined, please join us on social media for all the latest news. We are on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Telegram. For Telesur English, I'm Gladys Quesada. Thank you for watching.